Okay, so this is a video that I promised a little while ago for installing a triple boot system on a PC of Mac, Windows and Linux. And just very quickly before I start, I'm just going to mention that because of how Mac is installed on a PC, I'm not going to go too into detail on that. I'm just going to run through an installation and I'm going to use a certain method, but I'm not going to go into the specifics of how to do it. I'm going to cover that in a different tutorial just because that takes up so much time. So I'm just basically going to go through the actually installing it and not too much on drivers and stuff like that. And also I'm going to have probably breaks in between the installation of each system, purely because I need to recharge the camera and, you know, get bits of video off, so it'll be stitched together rather than just in one big continuous stream. And the reason for that is, the reason I'm saying that is just so that you know that I'm not doing anything in between, like where it cuts out and stuff like that. There's nothing going on there. So to start with, I'm going to install Snow Leopard. So if we just turn my laptop on, this is a Toshiba C660 1F1, and you just want to go into the boot menu and you want to boot from CD. So I'm actually going to use the mod CD method. If some of you know what that is, it's a very good method for this. So I'm just going to pop in my mod CD and then boot from disk. So just wait for it to boot up. Okay, so for those familiar with the mod CD method, you know that you have to have a Snow Leopard disk ready. The alternatives for this are obviously stuff like iArtCos and all the distros, or you can use mod USB, etc., stuff like that. Just any way to install Snow Leopard that you know, or Lion or Leopard or whichever it is that you feel like installing. The reason I'm going with Snow Leopard is because it's simpler than Lion at the moment, so I'm just going to make sure that I have something working so that, you know, you don't see it and think, oh, it's not working, so it must be fake or whatever. And the other two systems I will be installing alongside will be Windows 7 and Ubuntu 10.04. All versions of Windows and Linux are supported. It's not like I'm not using those for a reason. It's just the ones I prefer, and I'm going to actually be using this system. So this is the mod CD, and at this point, I'm just going to put in my actual retail Snow Leopard disk. And the reason for that will become clear in a second. Let me just put that on there. Okay. And just refresh so that it detects the Snow Leopard disk. Which can take a little while, well, just whilst it reads the disk. Okay, so let's just do that again very quickly. Right, there we go. So you can see that it detected the Mac OS X install DVD, and I'm just going to go into that using the verbose boot flag and just hit enter. If you can't make out the text on here, don't worry, it's not important. The text isn't really very important for doing this, so I know that it's difficult to see because it's quite small, but it's the best we can do really. So just let it boot up, and you can see it boots into verbose. Let me just tilt my screen a bit. There we go. Right, so what it's doing now is it's now booting into Snow Leopard, and because by booting into Snow Leopard I mean booting into the installer. And because I used mod CD, what it's going to do is it's going to detect certain drivers that should be installed for my system, and it's going to like select them in the installer. And what I'm going to do is just set it installing, and then just let it run through the installation, and then come back and do the next section, which will be installing Windows. And with installing Windows, it's really complicated because you have to install Windows twice for it to run smoothly as possible. And so really this part's the most important part, because this is where you partition your disk, and the way you do this has to be a certain way or you won't be able to do it properly afterwards. And so we'll just get into the disk utility in a minute when this boots up. And although it doesn't matter specifically which order you install them, I would say it's a lot simpler to go with Mac first and to follow the order that I'm doing, because this method, the way I'm going to do it, works like 100% of the time. Every other, like certain other methods that I've seen before, can leave you with like no MBR on your Windows drive and leave you with no way to boot into things and stuff like that. So just wait for it to start up. It's taking a while because obviously it's patching certain things and, you know, adding selections to the customization menus and stuff like that. And again, I'm kind of sorry that you can't really make out my screen all too well. It's just, this is the best setup I can get for this video. So although it's not very, like you can't see the specifics, it should give you, you know, the general idea of what you're meant to be doing and stuff like that. And I'm also going to write up a post, like instructions about this, and link it in the description. So if there's anything you can't make out very well, there'll be a written guide as well. So this is the Snow Leopard installer, and I'm just going to click on the next button and it prepares the installation. Installing Mac is probably the longest section, purely because of how difficult it is for different machines and stuff. And so at this point you want to go up to utilities at the top. No matter which way you're installing Mac, you will have a utilities menu and a disk utility, so just click on that. And so once disk utility boots up, we're going to see my drive on the left, which is a 1 terabyte. Let me just, yeah, I'm going to have to partition this because it's already got stuff on it, but yeah. So you want to click on the drive and go to the partition menu, which is the third one in the middle. You should be able to see that pretty fine. And seeing as I'm just doing a triple boot, I'm going to need 4 partitions. So I know that sounds quite strange, but you'll see why in a minute. So the first one you want to label Macintosh, or whatever it is you're going to call it, so Macintosh, and make it about 1/3 of your hard drive size. Obviously the sizes depend on what you want to store on them, and make it macOS Extended Journaled. So I'm just going to make it, I think, 330. And then the second partition you want to call Windows, and you want to format it into MS-DOS FAT, so just click on there. And again 330, and for the third one you want to call Ubuntu or Linux or whatever it is, and you want to again format that to FAT and make it the size you want. And then the last partition you should leave, so the main 3 partitions are Macintosh, Windows and Linux, and the last one you want to leave about 10 gigabytes. Well, 10 gigabytes is what I usually leave, but you can leave like 1 to anywhere between 1 and 10 is fine. And you want to call that swap, so SWAP, and again put it into FAT. And just click on options very quickly down here and make sure you're in master boot record and click OK. So you want to apply that, and the reason you've got 4 partitions is because Macintosh system off usually goes on the Macintosh drive, Windows goes on Windows, Ubuntu goes on Ubuntu, and the swap partition is basically used with Linux, and it makes it smoother and stuff like that. It's quite difficult to explain what the swap partition does. You don't store a system on that, it's there really. You don't have to worry about that as soon as you've set it up. So that is your basic partition table. There'll be a lot of reformatting that as we go along, but that is how it should start. If you don't start like that, it probably won't work. So just to recap, Macintosh is in macOS Extended Journaled, and the other 3 are in MS-DOS FAT, so FAT, and they're all the same. They're all sizes whichever you want, except the last one, which is between 1 and 10, and that is just swap partition. So once you've done that, close disk utility and continue with the installation, and just do the typical agree, blah blah blah, select the disk where you want to install, Obviously you're going to select the Macintosh drive, and let me just check my customization options very quickly. Let me just get rid of language and printers. Okay, and then once you're satisfied, just hit install and it will start to install. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come back to this after it's finished. So I'm just going to leave it running, and once I do, that is when we're going to install Windows and move on to the next step. So usually this takes about 20 minutes, and so yeah, I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so now the installation is just finished. You just want to wait for your PC to restart. And you want to wait for it to boot into the Chameleon loader. So just give it a second. And just boot up into Mac, make sure it works properly. It can obviously take a while on first boot, so just give it a few minutes. Let me just move the camera a bit. There we go. So obviously make sure you have a bootloader installed when you install the system, or make sure at least you have a boot CD so you can boot up into your partition afterwards. Okay, so right, you can see that it's booted up now, so I'm just going to very quickly set it up. Do. Right, so what I'll probably get now is a machine with dodgy graphic size and resolution and stuff like that, but at least it's working, and that's because I haven't set it to be however I want it to be. But you can see it's working, and now you don't actually have to do anything if you don't want, but what I prefer to do is, let me just close that. If you go to, let me just think where it is, right, computer, and then go into Macintosh. If you just go into extra and then open up the com.apple.boot.plist there, what you can do is if you just set the timeout to 1, and then if you add a new key and call it quiet boot, and then add a new and just enable it, so string yes and then string. So if you can't see that, I'll pop it up on the video just in case. And what that does is it'll basically make it so you don't have to access. Okay, of course. What it does is it makes it so that you don't have to you know, select your drive upon boot up. So this is if you're going to have it selected by your Windows partition. So let me just put that back in again, sorry. Right, okay, so I'll just save that. And then you might have to copy it to your desktop and then copy it back, which is what I'm having to do here. Right, so once that's finished, you just want to shut down, or rather restart your PC. So I'm just going to do that now. And at this point, make sure you have your Windows disk ready. So I'll just go get mine now. And you want to boot from disk again, obviously. So eject your Snow Leopard disk or your Lion disk. and put in your Windows disk. And now you want to boot from it. So this Windows installation isn't actually the Windows installation you're going to be running. You're going to end up formatting this drive again. It's just because you want to reserve the space. It's kind of difficult to explain, but you want the space to be reserved in NTFS so that Windows can be installed to it. And because of the formatting you do to the drive with Linux, it can break it, so it's just easy to install it and have it safe. So I'm just booting into Windows now, the Windows installer. Okay, so one other thing to mention is that you don't have to have the bootloader set the way I do. I just prefer to have it, as you've probably seen on my previous video with the the Windows options on the MBR. You can boot from Chameleon if you want, or you can even configure the Linux loader to boot first. So you can set it up however you like. I just prefer to have the Windows one and do it the Windows method, which is what I'm showing here. And from my experience, it seems to be the easiest one as well. So, because obviously adding entries to Linux is not, everybody's cup of tea and stuff like that. So if we just set up Windows, don't pay too much attention to settings and stuff. Just get it installed. But make sure obviously that you copy the same way I do on the partitioning and stuff like that. Okay, so once setup is started, you probably won't get this screen. This is because I've got a student one that has the different types enabled. So if I just, once you get to this bit, just accept license terms, press next, and then go to custom. And now on the one, what you should see now is you should see partition 1, which is your Mac partition. You should see no free space, so 0 megabytes. Then you should be able to see the other the other 3 partitions, because obviously they're in fat. And you want to click on the Windows one, and you'll see that it can't be installed. So you just want to go to Drive Options and press Format. And it's important that you press Format and you don't press Delete. So just to get that one clear, and just hit OK. And it should format like that. And now you can see I can click on Next. So just hit Next. And there we go, Windows is starting to install. So again, instead of making you sit through it, I'm just going to come back to it in a good 20 minutes or so. And then from there, we'll go with the Linux installation. So I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so now you can see that the installation finished and it's just booting up for the first time. This is into the Windows partition. And what you want to do really quickly is just set up the account and stuff. And next. So it doesn't really matter what you put on this bit, because obviously it's going to be formatted again. You just need to get it set up so you can restart. And now we should be booting into Windows, as you can see. So at this point you should probably insert your Linux disk, which I'm just going to do now. Right, so now we're into Windows. All you want to do now is just hit start and press restart. And get ready to boot from the CD drive again. Just get the camera right. Okay, so boot from CD. And again, this is Ubuntu 10.04. So just go into install. Okay, so once you get to here, just go through the installation as you normally would, until you get to the bit where you can partition your drive. And when you get to here, you want to click specify partitions manually, and you want to go to forward, and it will display your partitions. So you want to click on the one that will be called dev SDA3, and you want to click change. You can't see this very well, I don't think. Let me just get a bit closer. Right, so again, dev SDA3, now just change that and change it to ext3, which is at the top, just there, and mount it as root, so which is just a slash, and press OK. And then on the bottom, for SDA 5 for some reason, not really sure why it's 5 and not 4, but you want to just change it to swap area and just click OK. And then just make sure you have the ext drive selected and press forward, and then just type in your credentials that you want for your account, and there we go, just hit forward and ignore that, just press forward and then hit add install. And then you can see that you get the installer, and then you just want to wait until the installation is finished. So again, I'll be back in a second. Okay, so now you can see that the installation is complete, so you just want to hit restart, and you want to get your Windows disk ready again. And so it's just shutting down, pops the disk out. So just take out your Linux disk, and don't put your Windows disk back in yet. Just hit enter, and then it should restart. And now you want to put your Windows disk in. and make sure you boot from obviously your CD again. So at this point you're almost finished. You've got 2 of your systems installed, so Linux and your Mac, and all you have to do now is put Windows on and then configure the bootloader, which is pretty simple. And then there's just a couple of things you can do to clean up the boot menus and stuff, but that's not too difficult. So again, exactly the same way as before, pretty much install Windows. I'm just going to very quickly show it. So just to go back over it, at this point you should have Mac OS X installed to SDA1, which is the first partition. You should, at this point in time, you should have Windows on the second partition, Linux on the third partition, and a swap partition as the fourth partition. So the format should be the first partition in Mac OS Extended journaled, the second one should be in NTFS, the Linux installation should be in ext3, and the swap should just be swap, obviously. And what you're going to do here is you're just going to, because of how it's going to boot up at the moment, is that you can't get into Windows. So instead of going through the whole repair and whatnot, which just is a complete mess and a total waste of time, we're just going to reinstall it back up the top. So just go through the installation until you get to where you select where to install, and I'll go through that in a second. And yeah, once again, you won't have this menu. I've just got it because obviously there's certain edition I have, and etc. So again, click on custom, and you should now see 0 megabytes free space in every partition except the second one. And on that second one, you just want to click drive options and you want to format it. So again, that is your Mac partition. The partition you're formatting is your Windows, and then you've got Linux and swap. So now you can see that everything is free, so just press next, and again wait for the installation to finish. And again, I'm just gonna go until it's finished, and then I'm going to come back and show you how you can set up your bootloaders. So almost done, just another 5 minutes or so on the video left, so back in a minute. Okay, so now you can see Windows is finished installing again, and it's just starting up. So this time, because that's the last time you're going to install Windows, you want to set your username and password to what you're actually going to use. So make sure you make something obviously that you remember password wise and stuff like that. And then what we're going to do is just set up the bootloader so you can boot into the 3 different systems, and then you should be sorted and good to go. So just wait for it to get there. Okay, so just set it up. And then wait for it to start up. So at this point you will have to either install any drivers that you need to put on your system, so for internet and stuff like that, or before as I said at the start, or I didn't say it, as I put on the video at the start, you should have a USB with all the stuff you might need on. So basically just packages to install and stuff like that. And what you want to do is you want to either download or install EasyBCD. Or you can also do it manually if you know how to do that, by manually finding the hard drive partitions in command prompt and changing the entries directly and stuff like that. But that is not for beginners, so unless you're an advanced user, I wouldn't go there if I were you. So, and hopefully it should just boot up in a second. So at this point, if you were to turn your PC off, you would only have Windows access. It would just boot straight into Windows without any options to choose any other system or anything like that. It would just boot in and out of Windows. And that would leave your other two drives inaccessible unless you used some sort of boot disk, such as, I don't know, Hackboot or something like that. But obviously, setting the bootloader is a lot better. Sorry about that, I just had to swap rooms very quickly. So once you're in Windows, if you're on the internet, you can download EasyBCD. Just type it into Google and you can download version 2.1 free of charge, or you can have it on USB stick in advance, which is what I've done. And you just want to install it. So I'm just going to do that now very quickly. And you can see it's finished, so I'll just open it up after it's finished. And you can see you get this menu. And what you want to do is it's really simple. Go on the left hand side and you can see add new entry, so click on that. And select Mac on the top. And then just change the name to whatever you want to call it, so I'm just going to call my Mac OS X Snow Leopard. And then change the mode to MBR and press add, and you should see a confirmation line down here. Let me just get rid of that. Oh, I don't want to do that. And then just go into Linux and you want to select Grub 2, which is versions from 9 so that's every version of Ubuntu from 9.10 onwards, and you want to rename it to Ubuntu 10.04 and just press add. So after you've done that, just press view settings and make sure that you can see pretty much what I can see there. And once that's done, just close it and you want to reboot. And what I'm going to do now is just go into each system to show you that it works. And what I might also do is I might clean up the Linux bootloader a bit, because the grub menu will have Mac and Windows in it as well, which won't work. It won't boot properly from there. So you can see it just boots up into the menu, which you should be able to see in a second. So you can see we have Windows 7 at the top, Mac OS X Snow Leopard, then Ubuntu. And you know that Windows 7 works because we've just been on that, so now we'll try Mac OS X Snow Leopard. And you can see that instead of the chameleon loader we had earlier, because I enabled quiet boot, it just zaps straight into it. So whereas before you would have had to select your hard drive and stuff with chameleon, because I put it in quiet boot, it just does that automatically and just goes straight in. So it saves you having to select 2 bootloaders, and it just, you know, it just is a lot faster. Well, not a lot faster, but it saves you having to do more stuff. So you can see that it just boots straight into it. The only disadvantage is that you can't have boot flags, so you can't boot with like verbose messages and stuff like that, but you can always get rid of quiet boot if you want. I just prefer it. Okay, so it should be booted up in a minute. Okay, so you can see that that's booted up properly. Let me just zoom out a bit. There we go. So you can see that Snow Leopard's perfectly there and working. The reason I had that window open is because I left it open last time, but you can see it's there and fully working. So now if we just restart, I'll just quickly show you Ubuntu. And so on the menu, wait for it to pop up, and then down to Ubuntu, and just hit enter, and you should see it pop into the Linux loader, which is expected. And as I said, you can see that you've got Mac and Windows here, and I'll show you how to remove those in a minute. But just for now, hit Ubuntu on the top. And it should boot up in a minute or so. So you can see it's booting in. Let me just adjust my screen. And so there you go. That's how you set up your triple boot. You shouldn't have any problems. If you do, don't hesitate to comment and leave just a post telling me about the problem you have. As I say, it should work all the time if you do everything properly and correctly as I did. You can always refer to the guide in the description, which I'm going to write up, which I recommend you do anyway, just so you don't miss anything out. So I'd follow the instructions in there. And apart from that, subscribe to my channel for more stuff in the future. Obviously like this video if you like this video. Comment any problems. Don't hesitate to email me either. You can reach me on Twitter at Zaki9Lives. The link is on my YouTube channel page on the website section. And apart from that, thanks for watching, and I hope this video helped you. Again, sorry that it's videoed pretty badly. It's just this is the only setup I had at the moment, so again, sorry for that. But hopefully you got the idea, and as I said, there's a guide in the description if you've missed anything. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.